Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Success Great podcast with your host Hussein Talib. My guest today, Mitadru Dey, helps young professionals to achieve their career goals without any stress. He is a vice president in a top global financial service institution with 16 years of experience managing and improving the well-being and productivity of employees. Mitadru, welcome to the Success Great podcast.
Thank you so much, Hussein, and thank you for all the work you have been doing. You have been helping people with your podcast, with your blog. So thank you for that, which is much needed
Welcome.
for a lot of
Hopefully,
people.
I thank you. Hopefully, I pronounced your name right.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and yeah, and hello to the listeners of Success Grid podcast. As Hussein mentioned, yeah, I've been in corporate for 16 years. Uh, the aspect which I enjoy most is coaching people within and outside the organization. And it gives me immense pleasure when I see people are getting promoted, they're becoming successful, they're really doing what they want to do. Um, so that's something I help and I use myself as a resource for them. So on my LinkedIn, I call myself as pro bono career coach. So anyone can reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask a questions about their career. And if I don't know the answer, I reach out to my network to get the answers.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your story. From what I understand, you were born in India and moved to the US, right? Talk to us a
Yes,
little about that.
yes. So yeah, I was born and brought up in a small town in India, and I did not study in English until graduation. So when I joined JP Morgan, which I've been working now, it was a big challenge because I did not study in English, and suddenly I am in a corporate setup talking to clients in all over the world. Uh, However, since childhood, I always was inspired to work on self development.
Mm.
Um, so that helped me a lot, especially on the communication, because there was a time I used to get shaky, I used to get scared. What if I say something wrong? So I was, and one day I decided, no, I think I need to conquer that fear. And there have been a lot of mentors who helped me conquering that fear, and that really shaped me who I am today. And I have been always motivated to do well in my career. So within India, I moved cities. I got an opportunity to set up a team in Mumbai when I was pretty early in my career. A lot of people said what you are doing could be wrong because you may fail, but I took it up as a challenge. So in 2014, when I got the opportunity to move to New York from India, where I did not know anyone in New York, I said, like, why not? So
Yeah.
I moved in New York, and yeah, I've been working here ever since. Within the work, I also participate and lead in various initiatives on innovation, diversity, equity, and inclusion, corporate responsibility, where I work as a consultant for a nonprofit organizations.
Cool.
Um,
Amazing.
so yeah, so it's been a lot, but I always enjoy all different aspects of my job. So it's not like one job I do. So it's been a
Mm.
fulfilling career so far.
Awesome. So what is the most thing that you actually like to do? Helping people to advance in careers, for example?
Yes. So that's yeah, that's I think the most fulfilling part of my job. I have a global team, so I generally have periodic one-on-ones when we talk about career, and then and they come up with the problems. So the problems, could be that how I can be more productive, or especially mental health is a I think has been a big topic ever since pandemic started. So
Mm.
that's something we talk about different strategies on mental health. And as I mentioned, outside work, I uh, I initiated a project early this year for students and professionals in India who did not study in English. So we designed a 8-week module where you start from like simple things like English grammar to how to write emails, how to write a business case, how to speak in public, and resume writing, interview speaking. So yeah, I mean, like various aspects of career management. And I generally work with people who would be, I'd say, from entry level to 10 years of experience.
Cool. So from your experience now moving from one country to another, what do you think? Let's say the key ingredients to be a success in business, for example, or in career also, of course.
Sure. So I'll start with how it happened. So I had a trip in London in 2010, and I really enjoyed talking to clients face to face. And then I went back to India and I told my management I want to go abroad, in Singapore or Mumbai or New York. And my management said, okay, that's fine, but you need to create a business case. You need to tell me or tell your management, okay, you are interested, fine. So what is benefit for us as an organization? Like why we should send you, outside the country? So I created a business case where I outlined, okay, if you give me opportunity uh, in let's say New York or London or Singapore, these are the benefits that I bring in for your organization. These are the skill set I will develop if I move there, and overall organization, these are the things that will help. So like created like 3 sections, like what is in for me, what is in for the team, and what is in for the bigger organization. So I used to present that business case to various stakeholders, and it took me 2 years. So perseverance and patience
Oh,
is
cool.
it doesn't happen overnight. So
Yeah,
and it
but
pays off. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, this is something you wanted. You suggested that you want to, and you provided value for the people who are working there, also for the corporate business. But sometimes we know that working for other people and working in corporations, especially big ones, can be a little bit of a stress. So how do you kind of manage maybe stress days, for example?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right, because and I was talking to one of my colleagues the other day, and uh, he was frustrated with that. He had some of the ideas, and the management is not considering the ideas; they're considering other ideas, which according to him was worse. So I said to him, and we see that every day. I said to him one day, see, once you have decided that you want to work in your organization and you are not at the top, you have to be prepared that there will be always someone before, no, above you, and can shut down your ideas. So you need to be mentally prepared that, because it's not your business. End of the day, it's run by someone else. So that mental understanding is very important. That okay, yes, that doesn't mean that you don't do anything. What I mean is that you give your best, you try different ways, and if it doesn't work out, that's fine, you move to next ideas. That's one way to deal with it. And also it is important that to understand, let's say you are giving presentation to a senior manager about your ideas, you need to understand what that senior manager's attitude is. Is he someone who looks at graphs and presentation? Is he someone who is looks at the story? So oftentimes we forget to incorporate like what my audience is wanting. So if you work on that, I mean, chances are more that you will be successful to push your ideas. Uh, Now,
Cool.
coming back to mental stress, few things to consider. One is that work is one aspect of you. Work doesn't define you. You are not like Mitadru is not equal to my job. I mean, it's one
Yeah,
aspect of
yeah,
me.
exactly.
Because, and you are right, Hussein, because the time we start working till the time one retires, most of the time we spend at work. So we just mix things and do not think about that, okay, there is a world beyond job, and if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anything. So
Yeah.
you need to say, one need to say no. If it's something goes beyond the capacity, you need to say no, not rudely, but politely and firmly say, see, I can't do this beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be very demanding actually, especially in big ones. It's very hectic, actually, very hectic. So you working in a multinational business corporation, what would you think the important things, for example, for people who are looking to maybe start their careers and looking for these kind of companies who are really big companies, what they should be doing, how they should approach it?
Yeah, sure. So there are, I think, several ways to look at it. First, I think you really need to ask yourself, do you want to be in a corporate career for 30, 40 years? I think that's the question you need to ask yourself, because what happens is that, growing up in India, we have been told by our parents, we have been told by our friends, oh, this is the career you should go because it gives a lot of money. But you may not like that, you may not have the talent in succeeding that. So it is important that you need to ask yourself, like, is this something you want to do? Now you may not have the all the information to make that decision, so I always suggest that you reach out to your school or college seniors and ask, who are working in those corporations, like, what is life for 9 hours a day in a corporate. I think you need to, beyond your interview preparation resume, you need to ask that question to people who are in the corporates, and I think LinkedIn is a great tool. You can reach out to your seniors and people who are working in these corporates, to know about. And then after you talk to a few people and you decided that, okay, yes, this is something you want to do, I think, yes, please go ahead. So that's one step to really, I think an important step is that, yes, you want to be in a corporations, big or small. So once it is decided, the next step will be to find out what type of jobs are available in this organization. And from resume and preparation perspective, you need to look at, okay, whatever mentioned in the job description, do you have those keywords in your resume? Because if you don't have, chances are you won't be shortlisted uh, for the
Definitely.
roles.
Yeah, a
So
lot of people apply to the job, so it's very competition, high
yeah,
competition.
yeah, because and nowadays you have so many artificial intelligence tools, because they'll just scan your resume. They'll say, oh, they're like 50% keywords which are there in job description is there. So chances are that, okay, you will be shortlisted for the interview, because as you rightly mentioned, it's a lot of competition, especially in big organizations. So yeah, so working on your resume would help. Um, Another thing is to work on your attitude.
Mm.
I think which is very important. And I remember a quote from Zig Ziglar, where he said that it's your attitude, not your aptitude, determines your altitude, which is so
Yeah.
true. Because if and this is something, when I interview a person at an entry level, I look at, because I know that person will not have a technical skills, but whether that person has the right attitude to learn, whether that
Mm.
person is a team player.
Mm.
Because in any corporate environment, um, you need to be helpful to your team members. If you are not, then it becomes difficult for you to grow. So I think your attitude is very important, and always be ready to learn new
Yeah.
things. And yeah, don't think that this is the final thing in your career. I mean, you will move on from one job to another job. So be open minded, because you may be asked to do something which you may not like, but don't just think that, okay, this is just part of job, I'll do it so that I can move to my next role, right?
Mhm.
Third thing would be the thought process, and it is very important, innovation perspective, because you'll be asked to come up with ideas to improve your
Mm.
process.
Yeah.
So So having an innovative mind, it really helps. So ask questions like why this is happening in this way. Is there a better way to do things? And you know a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, that's their bread and butter because they ask questions why,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You have to get to the roots of things, because if you stay on the surface, problems will not be solved or systems won't be improved. These kind of things.
Yeah, yes. So they're asking that why questions and thinking differently. Uh, I mean, be it corporate, be it in business, always helps because if you think about like Bill Gates, there are so many people studied with Bill Gates, have the same upbringing, but why he's different from the rest? Because he thought differently. So that original thinking is very important, no matter what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And having also like a great team around you makes things easier, I guess.
Yes, no, absolutely. That helps a lot, and that also depends a lot on your manager or team leader because it's that person's responsibility to have a great team culture.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
Now, unfortunately, you don't always choose your manager or team leader. I mean,
mm,
you you may have a bad manager and you change jobs because 75% of the time people leave companies because they have a bad manager.
mm.
But you don't know the next manager is better. You don't know that, right?
Exactly.
So
No. So you talked about culture and also employees leaving the job not because of the business itself, but because of people who are above them. So what's your take on culture in big corporation in general? Is it something that is can be better, or is it good already where you work now? How do you deal with the people around you? Do you have some kind of a culture that is going on in the whole office, in the whole floor, in the whole company?
yes, so from general organizational perspective, I think culture and conduct I have seen over a period of time. I mean, it has always been important, but I think there is a lot of focus I've been seeing in last 5 years on two areas. One is that as a big organization, how we are giving back to communities.
Mm,
Because what's happening that the students who are starting their career in next last few years, I think they are asking the question what this company is doing for the communities, what this company is doing for the climate. It's not so much about money. So
mhm,
I'm saying that there's a change in the mindset because if they see that you are not doing enough for the communities and climate or society, i I will join another company or maybe a smaller company who is doing that. So I see the big change in the culture to talk about our society, our communities, how we can give back. Mm. And especially in the US, since last year, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big thing. So for example, so we have been having a lot of educational sessions where we pick up an article or a YouTube video about race, equity, diversity, and discuss among ourselves to educate ourselves. So that has been fantastic to improve the culture because it's talking about you need to be mindful about like what you are saying, how you're interacting. You need to be aware of what injustice around you in the society, which I have never seen in past, but that has been a big cultural change for last couple of years. And for example, in my team meetings, so apart from our business work, we also talk about these things, which didn't happen a few years back. So I think it's going in the right direction. But one need to understand that changing a culture takes time.
exactly. Yes.
It takes years, decades, because it's at the end of the day, it's up to you, the individual, to change your mindset. And you know that changing mindset it takes time. It like for example, you can't go to a gym and get six pack in a week. So it takes time. But I think
Exactly.
it's going in the right direction, and I see a culture of equity, diversity, giving back to communities, working as a team. getting clarity over I have to achieve X billion dollars profit.
Yeah, but I wanna ask you something really important here because you mentioned
Mhm.
meetings, and I also know because I work also in corporate.
Yeah.
So usually, from what I am seeing, usually meetings happen when something goes wrong. You know, you know what I mean. So what do you think of these kind of things? So when an employee makes a mistake, usually it's not mostly to encourage employees; it's mostly to tell them that and to point at them and that you did something wrong. You know.
Yes. Yeah, there are, as you rightly said, there are different meetings we have. At our place we have team meetings where we share updates. We have performance discussion, which you just mentioned that someone has made something wrong. Then we have one-on-one discussions. So in those scenarios when someone has made something wrong, and this is I learned uh, after a few years becoming a leader, because initially my reaction was, oh, you have done wrong, you're bad, and blah blah blah, and I used to just laugh, which is wrong. But then I realized that if someone makes a mistake and if that person realizes that he or she has made a mistake, that's it. I don't say anything else, because the important thing is that person should realize. As a manager, just scolding that person will not do anything. So I just sit that person down and I said, okay, what happened, what you can do better, um, and without getting agitated. So that really helps, because what happened. I mean, you can't go ahead and change it.
Yeah.
So it is important that the employee understands that he or she has made a mistake. And if the behavior continues, then obviously you need to involve HR, and there is a process in it. So I think main thing is, especially as a manager, is you need to keep cool. Uh, don't get frustrated because someone is making error, because end of the day you are human, will make errors. So so you can you can automate that and have system do it, then there will be minimum error. But if a human is doing, there is a chance. You can train, you can coach, but you need to be ready that there could be error, whatever steps you take. um,
Mm.
and as an employee, if I'm making an error, I think I should understand that I made an error, instead of like being defensive and say, oh, I made an error because I didn't get this. Because people are smart and they will understand if you have made an error,
Yeah.
people will catch that. So just be honest to
Definitely.
yourself.
Exactly. So tell me, tell our audience, how can you, for example, help, or what kind of advice would you give, let's say, new and fresh graduates to find
um,
the career that they are looking for?
Yeah, so for new and I think fresh graduate, I'd say, let's say you're talking about how to get to a company, or they are in the company and how to manage their job. Uh,
Sorry?
so are you asking me about how to prepare for a job, or once, or they already is a new employee, first
Yeah,
job?
how to find the, let's say, the dream job, let's say.
Okay, so for the dream job, I think first you need to define like what is a dream job for you, which industry you want to go to. Once you find that, and I think I mentioned earlier, like LinkedIn is a great tool, especially I've
Mm,
seen after pandemic. So
mm.
search for the jobs in that company. Also, don't just apply for like 10 different companies. I would suggest that, let's say, first
With the
you,
same CV, you need
yes,
to change it, right?
yeah, you need to change it. As I mentioned earlier, you need to change, okay, the job that you are applying, what is there in the job description? Use those words or synonymous words on your resume. So you need to do that. Another, I think, tips I would give is that reach out to someone working in that organization or the recruiter, because again, you have option to do that on LinkedIn. Maybe just send that person a chat. But when you send someone who don't on LinkedIn, just don't say connection request. just write like why you are reaching out. If you
Mm.
mention, for example, it's my dream job to work in your company. I have done XYZ education and experience, and it would be really grateful if you give me 10 minutes to talk to you. So write down like why you are reaching out to that person and how, instead of just writing one liner and send. So chances are you will get a response. And once you get a response, like ask questions about that company so that it helps you prepare for the interview. Uh, and interview preparation, I would say use a model called CAR, which is context, action, result.
Mm.
So if you have been asked about a problem or a project, first you give like context. So for example, oh, I have done this college project to create an Excel tool for automation. Then action in this example could be I build a team of 5 people who build that Excel tool.
Mm.
Then result, it would be okay, we built this Excel tool which saved 2 hours daily. So try to have a structured response: context, action, result. That would help in the interview. And ask questions. So because you always think interview from, oh, okay, I am an interviewer and an interviewee, and we are asking question. Remember, you are also an interviewer and asking question to the manager, because it both ways. So write
Yeah.
down questions that you have, and specific to that job, because because I have seen oftentimes people don't ask questions in the interview. So
Mm.
if I'm hiring someone, I will say, okay, that person is not interested, maybe because there is no question. So always, write down question, which is thoughtful question. For example, how I can improve, in this role. What is your training plan? What is the career path in your organization?
Cool.
Just ask several questions. So that really shows that you are interested for the job.
Amazing. This I think happens when someone who's interviewing at the end of the interview asks if you have if you have questions. Sometimes
Yes.
because if they didn't do that, the one who's looking for a job uh, just will say thank you and will leave. So it does not maybe occur to them to ask the questions about
Yes.
the
In
role.
that case,
Yeah.
I'd suggest that if you have already a list of questions, so just say politely that before we end the interview, I have few questions. Can I ask? And 100% of the time, interviewer said yes. Why? Please ask questions. So if that interviewer is not telling, you proactively, politely say,
Ask
sir
for
or
it.
ma'am, I have
Yeah.
few questions because I'm really excited about the job. So I
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to.
exactly. This will show that you know the role, know how to do things, or at least research kind of the job that you are applying for.
Yes, because the interviewer, the company should feel that you really want this job. It's not like you have applied for 10 jobs and it's one of it. So once we get that feeling, and then it may put people off. But if you, from the beginning to end, you said yes, you are excited, you want to learn, you want to get, chances are you will be successful in the
Awesome.
interview.
So, Mitadru, can you give us one takeaway for this episode for the listeners of the Success Secret podcast to take them from this one?
Sure. One takeaway would be that you really ask yourself, no matter what stage of your career you are, like what you really want to do. And one technique that I follow is that every morning when you get up, just write down things you want to do, and do that for a month, and without looking back what you wrote previous day, and that gives you a trend of like what you really want to do. So analyzing what your inherent nature, it really helps. Be you are just starting your job, you're 10 years, 20 years in your career, which will really help you to do what you love to do. Then it doesn't matter what you're getting paid, not paid, because you are in your dream job.
Yeah, exactly. Tadru, where can people get in touch with you and find you if they want to contact you?
People can find me on LinkedIn. I have a unique name, Mitadru Dey. So they search that name, my profile will appear. One advice: if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, please mention like why you are reaching out instead of just sending me connection request, so that it helps me understand. And you can ask me any question on career, and I'll be happy to help you, because I see it as my duty to help as many people as I can.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being here with me on this episode, Mitadro, on this amazing episode. Great insights. Hopefully, we will give some people some insight to advance their career and improve certain things, and go and look for that what they actually want to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hussein, and thank you for giving me time, and thank you, audience, for listening to us. I'm really grateful.